This video is continuation of the first video and thus a very quick review of the 5 points that the first video made. First point: inability to translate scientifically structured arguments to their rules by regulators. Second point: bureaucracies tend not to communicate well with stakeholders that they are controlling and yet freely pass information amongst themselves. Third point: within any organization there are some extremely competent people working, who are trying to do the right thing. Fourth point: the system will protect the general consensus and direction from the administrators, no compromise. Fifth and final point: be aware of the methodology used in studies, that may in fact be used in regulating our community. If the methodology is skewed, result will also be skewed. Not all studies should always have equal weight, and should not necessarily be determined totally by the regulators. This video will look at the benefits that the small-scale mining community bring to the community at large. The modern suction dredge for small-scale mining was developed by Keene Engineering starting in the late 1940s through the 50s, and relies on the Ventura effect. This simply means that a high-speed jet of water is introduced into a tube at a specific angle, that creates suction at one end. Here we see pump intake that is screened, pump discharge, and working suction, efficient, fish-friendly, and operator has precise control over nozzle. The versatility of the modern gold dredge has been documented, and the following examples you may not be aware of. Northwest Mineral Prospectors Club, the year 1996.
This is the Grays River. It flows into the lower Columbia River near Skamakawa, Washington. It's July 1996. Today, across the dike, are Northwest Mineral Prospector Club members here to help clean the tributary bottom of silt. The spring's headwater, an area of channel that was cleaned last summer by Northwest Mineral Prospectors. Rock piles have been brought in by the Lower Columbia Fish Enhancement Group. Once the narrow Gorley Springs channel that you see here has been thoroughly cleaned of silt, these river-run rocks will be spread over the creek bottom to create spawning beds for chum salmon. Mr. Jim Stolarczyk, a member of the Lower Columbia Fish Enhancement Group and also a member of our Prospectors Club, realized the value of our motorized dredges. They are able to vacuum up silt while at the same time cleaning and returning the rock to the stream bottom. He solicited volunteer club members to spend the weekend out here and give it a try. We accomplished this by pumping up the bottom debris over a grizzly, which cleans and returns the rocks, while feeding the muck into a trash pump, which in turn discharges the silt up over the bank. You see a couple trash pumps right there. Okay, now here's the same view in November. It's a rainy day in the middle of the month. It appears the salmon have found their way home.
Again in 2000 by the same club on the Columbia River.
Where the prospectors help protect the fish? And
Yeah, that's the only one I have to know about.
Yeah, they did a wonderful job.
But what kind of fish were involved and how much sediment was left and everything?
Coho salmon, and what happened was there was a movement of silt at a very critical time when the fish were coming out of the soil, or out of the bed, and and there was a high mortality rate. And I didn't get the whole story, exactly what the prospecting group was involved, but they took their dredges down there and reduced that, and they increased the survival of those young fish by 90%.
This helps reinforce the third point on bureaucracies. Within any organization there are some extremely competent people working, who are trying to do the right thing. Without agency support, none of the previous work would have been done. We now want to look at no-point pollution, very difficult problem for agency and truly concerned environmentalist. Again, the modern small-scale dredge has a positive effect by removing heavy metals, fishermen sinkers and mercury from our waterways. The small-scale miner has removed many thousands of tons over the years, before science understood the problem of heavy metals. In more recent years, these types of materials such as mercury have become a significant issue and concern, and again the miner has played an important role, by working with state agencies in setting up collection points for these materials. California, Oregon and Washington State at one time or another have worked with the small-scale miner in collecting these heavy metals. In 2008, Washington State miners were honored for over a 3-year period turning in over 160 pounds of mercury to the Department of Ecology.
And what these guys do is they leave the river better than they found it. They're collecting legacy or naturally occurring mercury, lead, and other heavy metal contaminants along with the gold that they tend to keep.
This is another example of community betterment that was a direct result of the small-scale miner and the suction dredge. Finally, this type of environmental cleanup, which only a small-scale suction dredge can do, was done without asking for money from any state or federal agency, unlike some environmental groups who work off government grants. Point number 6, and the only point of this segment of video: small-scale miner has made contributions to the whole community by cleaning streams of fishing weights, bullets and mercury for over 60 years. Additionally, has helped him habitat restoration. This concludes this portion of Bureaucratic Holes, and in the next video we will deal with the impacts of small-scale mining and the science available.